This is a really fun, cool new thing we're trying called taking my bass to Brooklyn in -1 degree weather with no jacket. Let's go. Okay, hold on, pause the video. So, we missed something really important. What happened to your bass? And this is what happened to my bass. Yes, that is a giant crack down the shoulder of the bass. Now, I don't know how it happened. Could have been Uber, could have been humidity, but whatever it was, I took it to a luthier in Brooklyn to get it fixed. Which brings us to here, and yes, that is green bass. It's my school's bass, and it's named Olive for olive oil, and the whole point of all of this is that because I had to take my bass in for repair, I'm now borrowing a bass, and because it's also about to be midterms week, I have very little time to practice, and I'm super busy. This is genuinely what my schedule looked like this week, and that meant I had basically only an hour every day for a week to practice, and I almost had no idea what I was doing. So I thought, why don't I ask my friends what they would do if they only had an hour to practice? So I did. So, what's your name?
My name is Logan Zaud.
What year are you?
I'm a freshman at Juilliard.
And what instrument do you play?
I play double bass.
Nice, same. So,
Yeah.
if you were to create a practice room, let's say you only have 1 hour to practice, what would you do?
Specifically for jazz, because that is what I'm kind of pursuing right now, I would start off with arpeggios for a little bit. I'm not going to concentrate totally on warming up because it's only for an hour, but I'll concentrate on arpeggios with the drone. After that, it's all about transcription. I'm going to either go through a bassline transcription and a solo transcription of something, and then I'll kind of take some phrases from either one of those and put it through keys, and then after that I'll go through a tune and transcribe some original recordings from like the 1940 or 1930 Broadway shows and find the actual quote-unquote correct chords, although there is nothing correct, and put those in a couple keys.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long do you usually practice for, would you say, on average?
Probably like 2 to 3 hours, I think. And it's not like all in one sitting. It's kind of like 20 to 30 minute increments. Take like a 5-minute break and then continue.
Well, thank you for your help.
Of course,
I
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Okay, so I just finished my shift. It is 10:41. I have about an hour to practice before I have to pack up and get out of the school before it closes. I'm gonna use Logan's practice routine right now to adjust to what I need to practice. So Logan broke it down to starting with arpeggios, so I'm going to start with those as well, just to warm up a little bit, and then I'm gonna go straight into a transcription. I have a performance coming up, helping out some of my dance friends with their dance workshop where they're choreographing to a solo bass piece, which I have not started learning. So I'm gonna be trying to learn that. That's gonna be my transcription of the day. It is a solo bass piece, so I'm lucky that I get to transcribe that. And then Logan says that he transcribes original recordings of tunes to try and figure out what they are intended to sound like / what are the correct changes. So I'm going to be learning Night and Day because it is a beautiful tune and I'm gonna try and bring it into my lesson. So I'm gonna be looking for the original recording of that and trying to find that and do that all in an hour, which kind of seems like a lot. So let's see how that goes. Oh yeah, by the way, this bass is green. I'm borrowing my school's bass because, as you know, I had to take my bass into repair this morning. So this is the first time I'm actually playing this bass. So I also have to get adjusted to that. Grab a metronome and put it at 100. It's a good steady tempo, especially when you're starting off with practicing etudes. I like to start at 100 and then every day I go up by 4 and then down by 8 and then, and then like keep going. So like today I'll go 100 and tomorrow I'll go 104. Day after I'll go 96, next day I'll do 108, then I'll do 92 and keeps going until you get to 140 and 60 and then you reset it, go back the other way. Putting on a metronome is really helpful because it helps me to stay off my phone. Sometimes I get distracted while I practice and my phone is like the biggest distraction possible. So when I'm either using a metronome or having a drone on to check my tuning, that really helps me not get distracted by using my phone because I'm using it as a tool in my practice instead. My teacher said something today that really stuck with me, and he said that your technique is supposed to serve you and not fail you. So in situations where you get lost or you are scrambling to play something or your sight reading is not going well, despite whatever happens, your technique should be what saves you and not what fails you. So in these situations, your technique should not actually suffer and worsen while you're struggling. It should actually help you and make it easier to play these challenging excerpts or lines. What I did just now was go through arpeggios in E flat, and I just changed the quality of the arpeggio each time. So first I started with major, and then I went to augmented, and then I went to an inversion of an A flat, and then I also went to diminished, augmented, minor, you know it. So I went through all of those, and that did take me already 10 minutes. So we really need to move on to the next stop in our practice routine, which is the transcription. I'm going to be learning this piece by the great bassist Dave Holland off of his solo bass album, which I highly recommend you check out. It's called One's All, and I'm actually playing Reminiscence as a piece with dancers for a concert that they're doing, so I need to learn it pretty much exactly as the recording, which means this is going to be a very fun transcription project for me that I need to start on right away. What I do when I transcribe is I listen to it first, and then I try and play back exactly what they played in short intervals of maybe 4 notes at a time, 5 notes at a time. Any line that seems conceivable to my ears, I can play right away, and then I try play it with the recording to get the timing right and get my intonation better and just be closer to the sound of the actual recording. So it sounds like there's a bit of vibrato on that one, and I messed up my intonation, so I'm going to try it again. Ooh, that's tricky. There needs to be more space in between my index finger and my pinky finger when I play this double stop. Let's see what happens next. So that's quite a long phrase, and I don't think I'll get all of it in the first try, so I'm going to listen back to it one more time. So I think I could get maybe just the first 5 double stops of that phrase. Then does it go here? I don't remember. Let's try it and listen to it again. Ba-dum-ba. Is it a double stop? Singing usually helps pretty well when I'm trying to learn a song. If I can't play it back immediately, at least I can sing it, and then if I memorize that pitch, then I'll be able to find it easier on the instrument. I don't have perfect pitch, so that usually is how I transcribe. Something like that. Now I'm going to try and play back the whole thing in time to try and get the timing right. This is where we're at right now. So obviously very rough, but that is because I've only been working on it for like 15 minutes. It has already been 35 minutes, so now we really need to move on to learning this song Night and Day, Cole Porter. There's this website that someone recommended to me. Derek Dubila, he's also a student here, he's an amazing guitarist. He recommended me this website called secondhandsongs.com, and basically you can look up any song in there and it'll show you the original version as well as a bunch of cover versions that are super popular, and it'll basically list every single version of that song that exists in the world. I used it earlier to look up All the Things You Are, which is a song that I had to prepare for today's studio class, and it showed me all 1,200 recordings of it. I just looked up Night and Day, and let me show you. The original composer, original recordings, or the earliest recordings that I could find, plus 977 more. I think one of Cole Porter's most recorded songs. And now, we're going to try and learn it. This is a crazy thing that just happened, but I just had to pause my practicing momentarily. It's so crazy that I'm listening to this song right now too, because I just saw two strangers in the apartment that is like opposite of the window of this classroom, like waltzing in their kitchen together, and that is so cute, and that just made my whole day. Aww. 1, 2, 1, 2. Night and day, you are the one, only in between the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are, I think of you. Night and day, day and night. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go? In the roaring traffic spoon, in the silence of my lonely room, I think of you. Night and day, day and night, under the hide of me. Doesn't know such a hungry yearning burning inside of me, and its torment won't be through till you let me spend my life making love to you day and night, night and day.
Okay.
Hi guys, so this is Luciano,
I play jazz trombone.
and what year are you?
I'm a freshman here at Juilliard.
Okay, I have a question for you. If you only had 1 hour to practice, what would you do?
So the first thing I do every single day is mouthpiece buzzing. That's essential, as that pretty much gets my lips used to the feeling of the buzz that you create to make sound on the horn. Right after that, I go to long tones, very big thing, making sure that my air is even and that my sounds are responding easy. And the key thing about what I do with long tones is I do air attack. So I never start with the tongue. The tongue gets more involved later in the warm-up. After that, very basic lip slurs, then moving on to flexibility. And then I start to introduce articulation with practicing scales, patterns, arpeggios, and all that mess there. Pretty much just getting used to the horn. And hopefully I could do that under 20 minutes. So then after that, I would work on any classical excerpts that are assigned to me that week by my private lessons teacher. And then after that, I would move on to jazz stuff, learning tunes, getting more familiar with tunes, putting things in different keys, putting ideas in different keys. And then that would pretty much sum up the hour.
Nice.
Right there.
How often do you usually practice? Like for how long usually?
Within a day?
Yeah.
I would say it really depends on what I have going on, because today I had my trombone studio class, I had a 3-hour big band rehearsal, and now I'm going to play on my friend's recital. So I didn't really get a lot of time to actually sit down with the horn and practice other than my warm-up. But if it's not the case as today, I would say 5 hours is comfortable. Any more than that, then it starts to become a little bit overkill.
Joe wants to say hi. Everybody, welcome back to day 2 of my trying my friend's practice routines video. It's 11:11 and the school closes at 12, so I actually have less than an hour today to practice. So Luciano mentioned that what he does to start off his warm-ups, if he only had an hour, would be mouthpiece buzzing and just trying to get used to the horn. But I do have that I know a lot of brass players and especially wind instruments do is long tones, and I actually have a bow, and I'm just gonna focus on getting used to this instrument, which, by the way, is not mine. Again, it's not the school's either, though. Guillermo, one of the master's students here, graciously agreed to let me borrow his bass for the whole week until I get my other bass back. So just like Luciano said, he needs to get used to his horn. I'm gonna try and get used to this bass by just focusing on my sound production and maybe playing a couple exercises and some scales. I'm also going to do this with a metronome quickly and do an exercise that I usually do without a bow, but I think that for this exercise it would be really helpful. Usually there's a lot more that I can do with the bow for these exercises, but since it's already 11:22, I think I need to move on to the next part of the practice routine, which is classical etudes. My teacher actually does assign me classical etudes, and it is a jury requirement at my school, so it is very helpful that this is included in the practice plan for today. I'm going to be working on some of the etudes that I have memorized, and we're going to see how that goes. So it is 11:38. Luciano said that he usually learns a tune and then puts it in different keys. So I've decided to learn the blues head called Chi Chi. I'm gonna try and learn it and learn a little bit of the solo and then put it through different keys. Security guard just told me I gotta leave, but what I just worked on was the melody of Chi Chi, learning it and then putting in 3 more keys. I tried to do more, but this is all I had time for. So this is it in A flat. Here's it in C. Here is it in F.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm a double bass player. I'm a first-year undergrad at Juilliard, and yeah, it's been great.
I have a question for you. So, if you could only practice for 1 hour, what would your practice routine be?
So usually, if I only have an hour, I do like 30 minutes warm-up, so that could be like intonation, like with scales, bowings, rhythms, I don't know, just a lot of that. And then I do maybe 15 minutes of solo and then 15 minutes of excerpts. So usually with drones, with metronome, and just focusing mainly on that, and then going into musicality once I have that down.
Sounds good. How much do you usually practice? Like how many hours would you say?
The goal is around like 4 to 5, but sometimes it could be like, usually it's in chunks, so sometimes I only have an hour, so that's what I would do sometimes.
Thank you so much for helping me answer these questions. Welcome back. This is day 3 of the challenge. Today I'm in a normal, regular practice room that most people use. In Paul's routine, he said that he did 30 minutes of warm-up to start off the hour. My watch is dead. It's currently 8:50 p.m., so I'm gonna start by doing that. 30 minutes of warm-up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my scale exercises, and I'm gonna do some arpeggios. I'm gonna put on my metronome. And now it has been half an hour. Paul initially initially said that he did 15 minutes of solo pieces and then 15 minutes of excerpts. I'm gonna flip that and do 15 minutes of classical bass excerpts and then 15 minutes of solo, like melody work, learning tunes, that kind of thing. It has been 45 minutes already and I haven't even worked on any of my pieces. I am almost too warmed up, I think. My hand is starting to hurt, but that is probably because I'm not using my own bass. We're gonna finally move on to learning some tunes. I'm gonna learn a song called Autumn in New York because it's almost spring in New York and that's just the perfect time to play the song called Autumn in New York. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Anyway. And see if we can learn the whole thing in 15 minutes. And I'll check back with you in 15 minutes to see if that actually has happened or not. So, it turns out that 15 minutes is not a lot of time to learn a song, and it's already 9:50 p.m., and I have not learned the whole thing. In fact, I only basically got done with learning the melody. One thing that I did learn that was helpful about learning different tunes, especially standard tunes, is that if you just listen to a whole bunch of different versions and try to sing along, then you'll pretty much get the melody because you're singing it through just so many different keys that you'll be able to sing it in any key, really. But we've got one more practice routine left to try, so I'll see you tomorrow morning for that practice routine.
My name is Jeremy. I'm first year at Juilliard studying violin.
Nice. So, I have a question for you. If you only had 1 hour to practice every day, what would your routine look like?
If I only had an hour, I think I would spend 5 minutes warming up on scales, maybe 10 to 15 minutes on like etudes or exercises, and then I'd definitely just get straight into my pieces after that.
Okay. How much do you usually practice, would you say?
I try to get at least 3 hours a day, sometimes more, depending on the day. On bad days, then I would only get around 2, but that really depends from day to day.
Thank you for your help. Hi everybody, welcome to my dorm room. We're going to finish up our last day of trying other people's practice routines today. Earlier this morning, I interviewed Jeremy, and he said that he would usually do 5 minutes of warming up with scales, and then about 15 minutes for his etudes and other exercises, and then 40 minutes of learning songs. And that actually works out super well because I have a class in about an hour where I have to learn 2 songs, and I have barely looked at any of them. So I'm going to spend the 20 minutes warming up, doing my skills, and then doing my exercises, and then spend the remaining time learning those songs, and hopefully I'll learn them fully before I have to go to class. I feel like you've seen me play scales enough times that I'm not gonna play them on camera today, but I will review my practice session afterwards. So my practice routine kind of went off the rails because something happened and then I started crying and then I could not concentrate. It's really not a big deal, like nothing really seriously bad happened. I'm just like really frustrated and mad at myself. While I was like having these anxious and upsetting thoughts, I was still trying to do my skills and I was still trying to stick to the time, and then I just realized no, there's no point of practicing if I'm so distraught that I cannot focus. An hour has gone by and I have not practiced basically at all. I do not know the songs that I need to know for this next class, and I'm going to, and I think that's okay. Sometimes what matters is that I tried to practice and I was consistent. I made a good effort, I set up good foundations. Sometimes things happen that we can't control and they make you very sad and then you can't focus, and that's okay. I'm just gonna give myself grace for what happened. Life happens and that's okay. You can't control that. So I'm gonna try and do this practice routine a little bit later. But for now, I'm just gonna take a deep breath and drink some water and see if I can learn these tunes before I have to go to class. Okay, this is take 2. Not gonna lie, I cried literally 20 minutes ago, but it's okay. now I'm back in my room. Now we're ready to get started with the practicing. It's 7:08. We're going to start with 5 minutes of scales and then 15 minutes of excerpts. And then I do have some pieces that I need to work on for upcoming performances that are happening this week. So I'll be working on that for the rest of the 40 minutes. Let's get to it. Okay, so I just wrapped up my last practice session for the Trying My Friends Practice Routines Challenge, and I think it went very successfully. I was able to get a lot of work done. I warmed up successfully, and I actually finished learning my piece. I'm really happy with how much progress I made in that 1 hour, and I do think that the ratio of warm-up time to working on pieces time worked out very well for me. With that being said, I think that there are benefits to all of the practice routines that I tried, and that is actually something that I really enjoyed about this challenge. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk through 5 different things that I think are super helpful that I've learned from this challenge, and just in general tips for practicing that help you maintain an effective practice routine and be a more efficient practicer as well. The first thing that I noticed about all of the practice routines is that they all had warm-ups, and that is essential to having a good practice routine. Kind of like being an athlete, you never want to fully sprint without warming up with the jog first. But what I did notice about all the rest of the practice routines is that they didn't leave any room for a cool down period, which would have been really helpful, especially because your muscles get really tense after a practice session. I know my arms get really sore, and my fingers especially are super tense after I finish a practice session. And just like an athlete stretching after they finish their run, I think it's really important to have a cool down period after you finish your practice. This is actually something I learned from an online course from the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra's principal flautist. The course is called Practice Like a Pro, and it offers valuable insights into what to include in your practice routine, how to set up your consistent practice habits, and some tricks for staying motivated. It's really perfect for people like me who don't all enjoy practicing that much. This course includes tons of resources to help you set up an effective practice routine and become a better musician. Things like a checklist for your practice routine, what you need when practicing, and dozens of videos explaining her thought process with a lot of helpful tips. I was lucky enough to have the VSO School of Music send me this course for free, and I would absolutely recommend it for anyone in the same boat as me. Someone who doesn't like practicing that much but loves music, who maybe doesn't have hours on end every day to dedicate towards practicing. Even just taking the course made me feel more motivated and happy to practice. Another thing I've learned that I've incorporated into my practice routine just the start of this year, is having a practice journal. Having a practice journal has been extremely helpful for me because I'm able to look back on how long I practiced for the day before, or 2 days ago, or a week ago, what I worked on those days, and I'm able to track and see my progress and improvement, which in turn helps me to stay disciplined and excited to keep improving and keep practicing. So I have this red practice journal right here that I've been using, that I just started using this year. The third tip I learned is to stay present in the moment while practicing and not let outside factors or issues or anxieties control me. As Christy, who's the instructor of the course, puts it, check your ego at the door. If you only have such a limited time to practice, thinking about what others may think of your playing will absolutely hinder the progress that you're able to make in that short amount of time. And it's really important to remember that your only competition is yourself. You're only competing against the you from yesterday. Christy also suggests factoring in time for active listening, which is a crucial part of any practice routine, especially for jazz musicians like me. She has tons of tips for how to listen and review recordings of songs that you're working on, and explains why it's so important to analyze the pieces that you're playing. And finally, one thing that I learned from trying out so many of my friends' practice routines was that the motivation to practice seemed to come just from the different exercises that I was going to try that day. Everybody had a different practice routine, different warm-ups, different exercises in their warm-ups, different order of practicing, and before this challenge, I used to really only have one routine that I used every single day, which got boring really, really quickly. And trying out the different exercises showed me so many things that I wanted to work on and kept it interesting. As for motivation, for people like me who really can't find the motivation to practice on most days, Christy discusses a lot of ways in improving discipline, which I've tried to incorporate into my routine as well, such as optimizing your practice space, habit stacking, how to use helpful resources such as a metronome, a drone, or recording devices, and how to train like an athlete. There is so much wisdom in this course that I definitely recommend that you check out, whether you're a busy college student like me who only has limited time a day to practice, or you're just someone who's looking for help in guiding you to create an effective practice routine that works for you. You can check out this course in the link in the description below. I wish you all the best in your musical endeavors, and thank you so much for watching. Happy practicing!